Sports Illustrated senior NBA writer, back at Sports Illustrated since the first of the month. Chris Mannix, right here in studio. Good to see you, sir.
How you doing, Rich? You're not going to tell Dan I'm here, right?
Well, he sees everything. Okay. Dan knows everything. Okay. But, Dan doesn't own you, does he? I know he owns your hairstyle. Yeah, I know that.
I mean,
I know that.
It feels like it's almost eminent domain. He's kind of grabbed me and, pulled me into his orbit.
I think there's enough Mannix to go around.
I'd like to think so as well.
That's what I like to think. Yeah. But you went to Fritzy's stand-up.
I did. It was something.
Look, that's the gutsiest thing somebody could do, I think.
No question.
Is to get up there and do stand-up.
Let me just say this about it. Not to, people should go see Fritz if he does it again, whenever that may be.
Yes.
If I didn't know Fritzy, I would have thought it was funnier. But given that I know Fritzy, I now know a little bit too much about his personal life to the point where, Rich, I'm not sure I can ever be in the same room with he and his wife ever again.
I understand.
Wow.
Do you have the Joe Rogan line? That's the perfect. I'm now going full Joe Rogan now. When these
I understand.
I understand. I understand. I'm seeing Fritzy tomorrow. I'm doing Dan's show tomorrow. I'll tell him that you say hi, Chris.
Please do that.
The Honda Insider Report. Chris Mannix here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right. What do you make of the Draymond suspension? Is it something that can tear the Warriors asunder, do you think, Chris Mannix?
I think it's something that could. I'm with you that I wouldn't bet on it doing it. That's a far too talented team. But it's interesting that they suspended him because a couple of years ago, Draymond Green went after Steve Kerr in a locker room in Oklahoma City. They had to be physically separated. That didn't rise to a suspension in the eyes of Golden State Warriors management. This does. Now, there's a lot of questions about why this does. Was it something that Draymond said in the locker room, did in the locker room that was just different from what happened with Kerr? Or, a lot of people around the league believe this is kind of an olive branch to Kevin Durant, saying that, look, we're siding with you on this. We believe that you were in the right. Draymond was in the wrong. We're going to send a message to Draymond that was intolerable. So the Warriors aren't saying much. People behind the scenes aren't saying much. But this is different than anything Draymond's done before.
Well, the Draymond Kerr moment in the locker room, as it was reported again during their championship run last year, was seen as a watershed moment for the positive between the two men and the team and the organization as a whole, that they were able to get through it. They were able to get out whatever needed to be gotten out. Is there any possibility that you see, it's still early on, that this could be essentially viewed in hindsight as that as well?
I think it's possible because, Draymond and KD have gone at it before, and they've maintained a pretty strong friendship. Remember, it was Draymond that was the principal guy recruiting KD all throughout his last season in Oklahoma City. But how many times can you keep sort of doing that, Rich? How many times can you keep having these blow-ups and thinking it's going to become a positive with this team? I know there are some veterans inside that locker room that, over the last couple of years have been getting a little tired of being the adults in the room. Draymond is a beloved teammate. There's no question about that. But the heart on your sleeve, over-emotional stuff, I know it does wear on people inside that locker room. Now, I don't know how that manifests itself for this year, but moving forward, people have suggested this could be the last time we see this Oklahoma or this Golden State team together with Durant. They may look to move off of Draymond Green after this year. They may look to do some different things if Kevin Durant decides to leave via free agency, which is what a lot of people around the league believe anyway, Rich. I can't tell you. I mean, I've covered a lot of big-name free agents over the last 10 years. There are people, and they don't necessarily have direct knowledge of Durant, but there are people that believe unequivocally that Durant's gone. Like, no question. Like, no way. Not even a chance he goes back to Golden State this year. Smart people I talk to all the time that never say stuff like this, that believe unequivocally that Kevin Durant is going somewhere else.
Well, if those smart people know that Draymond Green's no dummy, then maybe that's what is the base of him reportedly talking about his impending free agency in the heat of a moment of an actual NBA game that's being played out.
Yeah, I mean,
November.
Steve Kerr said that, free agency had nothing to do with it. I don't really believe that. I think whatever was said, the specifics that were said behind the scenes, I think Durant's free agency is playing into some of the tension here. Now, that tension was kind of masked over in the early part of the season because they were playing great basketball. I saw them play 2 games in New York, and the narrative wasn't, Durant's free agency necessarily, even when he's going through New York. It was, wow, you guys are off to a better start than you were last year. Durant and Steph Curry look like they're more in sync than ever before. They made that video, the Fergie video, inside the Knicks locker room. Right. Everything is going well, but I think there are cracks in there, and there have been cracks in that foundation that an incident like this certainly brings to light.
And then there's the question, Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated here on the Rich Eisen Show. There is the question of, does that mean they don't win this year? I don't see another team that's going to be, because they are lead pipe wielding professionals up there in Golden State. And I think they do understand maybe what they have right now. Who could be the team that takes advantage of whatever injuries that they do suffer, how long Curry's out, or whatever is going on in the locker room, doesn't get papered over, doesn't get smoothed over. Somehow, some way, whatever happened last year in the locker room that they were able to get past, that was revealed was actually going on after they won. Who could be the team anywhere on this NBA landscape that would be able to take advantage and shock?
In the Western Conference, you don't see it because Houston took a step back. I mean, I don't know. They'll turn it around in some way. They're too talented not to get back into that playoff mix, but they're not the team that they were last year. The biggest mistake the Rockets made was not paying Trevor Ariza and not paying Luke Mbamute and not just bringing the band back together that was up 3-2 on Golden State in that conference finals. After that, I'm big on Utah, but I don't think Utah's ready. I think Portland, which has been a lot of home games, I don't think they're on that level yet. I don't see a Western Conference team. You actually have to look in the Eastern Conference, which the top of is really good right now. I mean, Toronto is legit. Not enough people talk about how good the Toronto Raptors are. You put Kawhi Leonard onto that team, a team of players that everybody knows their role. Everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do and is completely comfortable doing it. You add in all the way back Kawhi Leonard to that mix, they're a 60, 65 win team if they stay healthy this year. I think Boston's going to figure it out. So I think the challenge for Golden State is not going to come from one of the Western Conference opponents, but somebody that comes out of the East.
So then we're talking about June, which means what happens now in mid-November might
The question I would wonder, do they make a deal to not involve one of their key guys? Nobody's getting traded off that team this year. They know what they have in Golden State, but if they make a deal maybe to bring in another veteran, they've had success with, elder statesmen in that locker room. David West was a good example, a tremendous locker room guy that they lost to retirement after this year. Do they go out and try to recruit one of those guys, either before the trade deadline or when they get cut via free agency to inject some more life into that locker room?
I don't know. I mean, Boogie Cousins looked to be the peacemaker there.
I mean, this is what we've come to. I mean, I wrote something a few weeks back, like, this Warriors team, it's almost sarcastically, like, they might actually be good if they get a 5-time All-Star back into the mix. Now it's like, we're counting on Boogie Cousins to come back and be the stabilizing force in that locker room.
Maybe.
Like, Boogie is the peacemaker. Boogie is the guy that will make everything okay in that mix. It's having covered him in Sacramento ad nauseum for what he did out there. Yes. It's wild to even think that.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing it at that very moment. Chris Mannix here in the Honda Insider Report. Ask him the poll question, Chris. What do you have over there?
Yeah, so we're looking at this drama, Chris. What's the more likely scenario for the Warriors next year? Durant gone, Draymond gone via trade, both gone, or both back?
I think Durant gone easily the most likely. I mean, Draymond's, he's got another year on that contract, I believe.
Yes.
So I don't think they extend him. He's going to be over 30 when that time comes to pay him. A guy like Draymond that doesn't shoot the ball well, doesn't have great size. They don't age particularly well in the NBA. And I think the Warriors will have a number that they want to offer Draymond and won't go any higher. But, Durant's going to walk away at the end of this year, most likely scenario. Durant's 30 years old. He's going to have multiple championships under his belt, 3 championships under his belt, and a blank slate. Nobody can say you've never won championships. You can do whatever you want. That's why I think New York continues to be the most likely destination, because he can go there. And we know that winning a championship in New York would mean more than 2 or 3 championships anywhere else. They haven't won since the early 70s. They've been so dysfunctional really for the last 2 decades. Going to New York and winning something would be an incredible feather in Durant's cap. And he can also, I don't know if this means anything to him, but he could also do what LeBron James declined to do. LeBron declined to go to New York and take on the challenge that is the Knicks. He could go there and maybe win a championship, which LeBron did. I don't think he wants to play with LeBron either, Rich. People like to put him, when you're a player, not just Durant, But when you reach a certain threshold of championships, you no longer want to be the guy that helps LeBron win championships. You want to be the guy that becomes the LeBron of this generation. You want to be the Kobe of this generation, the Michael of this generation. You want to win the most championships of any player in your era. That's what I think would keep Durant from going to Los Angeles.
Well, and let's talk about this a little bit more with you, Chris Mannix, because it kind of plays into a handful of things. That we're already hearing Kawhi's happy that he could be the Paul George of 2019 free agency by staying put wherever he's been traded to in a way that you didn't think would be possible. And then from what you're saying, Durant would leave Golden State but to do his own thing, which would, in my mind, leave Golden State showering a whole bunch of money on Klay Thompson, which everybody here in Los Angeles says Klay's coming here. He's going to play for Daddy Michael's team and come back and team up with LeBron. Exactly the type of player that they need in a three-point challenged shooting roster. Are we going to find that nobody wants to come and take that max contract from Magic Johnson? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's possible. Or it's someone you don't necessarily think is worthy of the max contract. You overpay somebody. Maybe it's DeMarcus Cousins. When he hits free agency from Golden State, we know he's not going back there. But the Jimmy Butler trade to Philadelphia, the Sixers don't make that deal unless they're confident they can either bring him back or willing to give him the 5-year deal that will guarantee that he comes back. I don't know. I mean, it's way too early with Kawhi and the Raptors. But I've always believed, Rich, and I've written this, that the people around Kawhi Leonard, I don't know if they necessarily spoke for what Kawhi Leonard wanted. I mean, Kawhi has always been a guy that just wants to win, wants to get well paid, and focus on basketball. He's on a team with a bunch of 20-somethings that he can grow with, that bench that people probably can't name with a roster sheet in front of them, but the Pascal Siakams, the OG Anunobis, these guys are really good players and really young players. So if Kawhi Leonard is looking at the next 5, 7, 8 years of his career, the best place for him to win is in Toronto with the Raptors. We don't know what the Lakers are going to be the next few years. We don't know what the Clippers are going to be for the next few years. He has a good idea what Toronto's going to be.
That's an interesting way that you bring up the Clippers, because you don't need to be told about how the NBA narrative works. Clearly, you're part of that machine, and it is a narrative generating machine that's just like the NFL. It feels the same way. That there's a drama all the time. But one way that the NBA I think outstrips the NFL is that the narrative that always gets sold out there, there's an undercurrent that everybody starts talking about, and then the undercurrent usually takes, center stage. In the same way that nobody might want to play with LeBron and take that max contract, that the Clippers might eventually be viewed as the more viable choice for a free agent to come here to do their own thing. Match Taylor Swift for a number of banners in Staples. I mean, I went to the Kings game last night. There's the Laker banners all over the place. And then there's, the WNBA banners up there from the LA Sparks, right? And then you've got Taylor Swift's banner. There's nothing from the Clippers in there. So somebody could come to Los Angeles and create their own whole cloth dynasty or legacy, right?
Yeah, I think it's appealing, and the Clippers, I think, have done well, especially with their recent draft pick, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's a player. I think he's going to be a real player in this league. They've got a functional organization right now. The Lakers at the moment are dealing with some dysfunction. We don't know at the end of the year if Luke Walton is going to be that coach. Doc Rivers signed up for the long term. Lawrence Frank's in charge there. They've got an excellent front office.
Jerry West.
I was going to say, including I was going to say my old colleague Lee Jenkins now.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
I was told he was running. No, sorry, Lee. I don't mean that.
The new logo.
But yeah, they're functional. And when you talk to agents of pending free agents, one thing that's come up a lot in the last 4 or 5 years is the functionality of franchises. Like, is the coach going to be there for the long term? Is the GM entrenched at that position? Ownership, do they get involved? I mean, the big problem in Phoenix right now is Robert Sarver, who is one of the most meddlesome hands-on owners in the NBA. The Clippers rather, seemingly have a pretty solid base from ownership with Steve Ballmer to Lawrence Frank to Doc Rivers and everything in between. That means a lot. The Knicks this year, their big pitch to Kevin Durant isn't, look at Mitchell Robinson, he's a great player, or come play with Frank Ntilikina. Porzingis may not even come back this season. They don't care about that. All they want to do is look functional. To have Scott Perry lead their front office and David Fizdale be their head coach.
Can we send JD out with the straight shot then for
That's a
like
problem.
a year? Can
That's a
we
problem.
Send him. So how about he and the unicorn swap spaces? We send Dolan with the straight shot to Eastern Europe. Go on a tour. Go see where LaMelo hung out. And then, bring the purple unicorn back. Can we do that?
You're not a fan of JD and the straight
Please.
shot? No, you're not?
Please. Last one for you here. Last one for you, Chris Mannix. What was Dwyane Wade referring to when he said that Carmelo Anthony was being the scapegoat? And we all know what the real thing is here. I haven't gotten a straight answer on that. What was he referring to?
I don't know.
Tweet?
I don't know what exactly he was referring to.
It's either the owner. It's either the general manager, the coach, or Harden. Who is it, do you think, if you had to guess?
If I had to guess, I would say Harden. It always comes down to the player. That's just a guess on my part.
Sure.
But when I saw that tweet and was asking people about it, most people said it's just more of a full-throat defense of Carmelo. Like, Carmelo has a lot of friends in the NBA. Even the places he doesn't work out, New York, Oklahoma City, now Houston, everybody likes him. All the players in that locker room want to play with him. The Oklahoma City guys were just like, it just didn't work with Paul George and Russell Westbrook alongside him. So he has got a lot of allies in the league.
Yes.
And this notion that's out there, Rich, of he should retire or it's his fault or he can't adjust to a secondary role, some of that stuff may be true, but it doesn't change the perception of Carmelo. It's why I think Carmelo is not going to retire, is going to wind up either in Miami with Dwyane Wade or Portland with the Blazers and continue to try to make something of the final chapter of his career.
All right, last one for you. I lied. Because Philly.com just reported out of Philadelphia, Fultz is coming off the bench. Reddick's a starter with Butler's first game. Does that surprise you? What do you think happens?
He should have been coming off the bench all along. The strategy of playing Markelle Fultz with the starters, they had a bizarre strategy. I was at a couple of Sixers games this season. They play Fultz as many minutes as they can in the first half. And then because they can't rely on him, he plays sometimes he plays 3, 5, 7 in that second half. If you're going to rebuild Markelle Fultz's confidence, you have got to put him in a position to succeed as the primary ball handler. He was never going to be that guy with Philadelphia because Ben Simmons has the ball in his hands, and certainly not with a high usage rate guy like Jimmy Butler in that lineup. I think this is a gift for the Sixers. If they hope to kind of rediscover or rebuild Markelle Fultz, which I'm not sure is possible in Philadelphia, this with the second unit is the best way to do it.
Congrats on getting back in Sports Illustrated.
Thank you, Rich.
Hold on, let me check my phone. Is Dan texted? Oh. You're in the clear right now.
I am, okay.
Yeah, none of the Danettes have texted either, so I think it's good.
May have to shave my head again.
Hey, look, man, if you went to see Fritz do stand-up comedy, you're part of DP Nation. We all understand that, but there's enough Mannix to go around.
There is.
Certainly in the Honda Insider Report, which is brought to you by our friends again at the 2019 Honda Accord with sleek styling, a sophisticated interior, and standard Honda sensing the Accord is a gift that keeps on giving this holiday season. So hurry to the Happy Honda Day sales event for a great deal today at SI Chris Mannix on Twitter. Great to see you, man. Thanks for letting me know that you're in town. Come back anytime.
Will do.
You bet.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.